Thank you for being here. Thank you to a couple of you who I met in my office yesterday and for taking the time. Obviously, you've heard a lot, Mr. Hamilton, about concerns about politicization. I think the thing that you heard from my colleague from Michigan was it's just hard to rationalize just how many disasters have been approved for aid in Republican states versus Democratic states. And in Michigan, we're a swing state, we're a purple state. And I think particularly the ice storm that we had a year and a half ago has really felt like we've had to use an incredible amount of influence and power, both Democrats and Republicans working together in our delegation to get reimbursement. And I think, the total damage from that storm was $440 million. And if we don't, get help, then the average ratepayer, because we had electric co-ops go down, is going to be charged an extra $4,500 per household. So it is pretty existential for people in my state. I know you're someone who's worked in and around FEMA for a long time, but I just want to double tap the idea that we can't have stats coming out of your office when and if you get confirmed that demonstrate that you get more of a payout if you're in a Republican state and a faster payout if you're in a Republican state. And that should go without saying. And Republicans would be screaming bloody murder if the stats were reversed and if it was easier to get money if you were a Democratic state under a Democratic president. Let's please keep disasters apolitical. I want to ask to Mr. Duncan, you've had an interesting couple of days up here on the Hill, made some news, gone viral a couple of times. I just feel like this idea that to get a federal grant, the rules have been rewritten so that you can reject any organization that represents, quote, anti-American values, and anyone who, quote, damages the reputation of the government. So you're going to be in an important position of power. You want the big job. You answer the big questions. If a university that was receiving federal dollars for a research grant into cancer, but they allowed a protest, a peaceful protest of the Iran war on their campus, would that be, quote, damaging to the reputation of the government?
Senator, I appreciate the question. As you know, with 2 CFR, it's signed off by all 41 agencies.
Right, but in your mind, you're asking to be a decision maker, right? So I understand there's a chain. I was a federal government employee for a long time, but you're up here for Senate confirmation, so it's a big job. Is a protest, a First Amendment peaceful protest on a college campus threaten the federal dollars that they are getting for cancer research under the rules that you will be enforcing, yes or no?
Senator, you're asking a hypothetical question, but I would note that this
Well, we have protests. We do. I mean, I have University of Michigan and Michigan State. There are protests from time to time, that's for sure. So it's not hypothetical. This is something that literally in 15, 20 days you could be dealing with. Is a First Amendment protest on a college campus enough to be, quote, anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration?
In the hypothetical question that you're asking related to grants for cancer research, this administration is committed to gold standard science and wants to advance the best cancer research that we possibly can.
Okay, so if they can have a protest on their campus. And I would just say slashing cancer research and slashing our science institutions around the country and making us have to be literally 1/10 of the medical research that's going on in places like China and Europe is not a way to uphold a gold standard for cancer research. And I say that for a woman who's, got cancer in her family. If a domestic violence shelter receives a federal grant, but they also post complaints about this administration's cutting of domestic violence funding, will that put them at risk of being labeled anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration?
Senator, again, you're asking hypothetical questions. The ultimate deciders of these grants will be the political employees at the agencies. I would imagine in this situation, it would likely be HHS.
The political employees? The political appointees like yourself?
the political appointees, OMB does not issue grants. We issue guidance, uniform
Right.
guidance on grants. So I would not make decisions on a specific grant.
But if
It would
someone
be
calls you, I mean, again, this is like, you can't want the big job, but then not answer the big questions. I think the idea that First Amendment activities would be, quote, anti-American or threatening the reputation of this administration, you understand that you're creating a climate of fear around things that are actually, it's the opposite of anti-American. It's the most American thing in the world, the First Amendment. So I think you've raised a lot of concerns in your testimony over the last couple of days, but the idea that the administration would put that kind of language out there to intimidate and scare people out of freedom of speech is something that is the most anti-American thing I've seen in a long time. Yield back.
Senator Ernst.